Now, confessed killer Flavio Hlabangwane has been sentenced to life behind bars. That's for the murder of his girlfriend Tshepang Pitse, whose body parts were found in a refrigerator in his Soweto home. eNCA reporter Heidi Giokos was in court tracking these developments. She joins me now in studio with the latest. So, Heidi, judgment was finally made.
Yes, it was actually sentencing today, so we do know that Flavio Hlabangwane faced 3 counts, one of premeditated murder, the second one of defeating the ends of justice, and the third count was violating a corpse. So this dates back to 2021, William, where we do understand that his then girlfriend decided to wake up in the morning and she wanted to cook.
Right.
And this is when she opened up the freezer and she found body parts. And this is obviously when Flavio then had to make a confession. We do know that when the police were called, he actually tried to take his own life. It was quite a bloody scene there in Proceedings in Soweto. But he has, of course, been found guilty on all 3 counts, and he has been sentenced to life in prison for premeditated murder, 15 years for defeating the ends of justice, and 10 years for violating a corpse. Of course, it was a very gruesome and brutal story, really shocking the community of Premeditation in Soweto, because you have somebody that's 28 years old, that's an actuarial scientist, that has a really good job, that's making something of himself, and suddenly you have this gruesome story coming out where he basically had a fight with her, with Tshepang, and this is his version in court, where he had a fight with her. She fell, she knocked her head, but he also then decided to cut her body up and dismember her. The tragedy in all of this is that her torso is still missing. But I want us to listen to the sentencing that was handed down today in the High Court.
Mr. Flavio Hlabangwane is sentenced as follows. On count 1, murder read with the provisions of Section 51, subsection 1 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 105 of 1997, sir, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On count number 2, defeating or obstructing the course of justice, you are sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. On count number 3, the conviction of violating a corpse, you are sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. Considering that the prescribed minimum sentence for the murder on count 1 is life imprisonment, all determinate sentences of incarceration imposed by the court will, in terms of Section 39, subsection 2A, Roman numeral 1 of the Correctional Services Act 111 of 1998, run concurrently with the sentence of life imprisonment. The accused is effectively sentenced to life imprisonment. Further, the accused is ordered to participate in long-term psychotherapy with a focus on behavior, anger management, substance use, and insight-orientated interventions offered by the Department of Correctional Services, and that he further participates in other appropriate programs or courses offered by the Department of Correctional Services.
So obviously that's his whole life gone. I mean, he's only 28 years old right now, and it's going to be much later before he can apply for parole. But I imagine the family of Tshepang, how are they taking the news, Heidi?
It's very difficult for them, William, and one can understand why. You cannot bury your loved one. Firstly, your loved one was brutally murdered in such a way. Her body parts are missing. She was buried. Not her full body was actually buried. So the family says as much as they appreciate and accept the fact that he has been sentenced to life for premeditated murder, as well as 10 and 15 years for the other 2 counts that he was found guilty on, they cannot find closure because her torso is still missing, as I mentioned. So it's very difficult for the family to really understand why he did this. I think also the tragedy in all of this is that Tshepang and Flavio were actually cousins, and they were also lovers. So right. The families knew each other, and the family is saying that if he showed any sort of remorse, they would have probably tried to forgive him, accept what he has done, so they can also move on as a family. We got a chance to speak to Tshepang's uncle, who just explains to us how difficult this has been for the family.
We have decided to accept that, even if he can receive death sentence, he's not going to bring back Tshepang. Now we cannot say anything. As a family, we feel very relieved that the sentence has been served, but we are still waiting for the torso to be discovered. Now we cannot say anything because we have actually buried the parts, not the whole body. So if we can actually get the torso, we'll be satisfied. Though he has actually been given life sentences, but we still feel that he must actually disclose where he actually buried the torso. He must actually enjoy his days in jail.
Heidi, you also spoke to the NPA. What did they have to say?
Yes, so the main question for the National Prosecuting Authority, William, is the fact that they need to possibly still assist the family in locating the torso. I think what's rather distressing is that Flavio did not take the court into his confidence to actually say this is where the torso was, because we do know that they found the head as well as the arms and the legs, but they did not find the torso. And the NPA is saying that they were unable to find the torso, even though Flavio said at this particular location, this is where you can find body parts of Tshepang. They were still unable to do so. But the National Prosecuting Authority has indicated that they will still provide additional support to the family should any new evidence or information come out about the whereabouts of Tshepang's remains. We also do know that the investigations do continue on the side of the National Prosecuting Authority because the full body has not been found. Let's listen to the NPA on that.
We believe as the NPA that the sentence that was imposed by the court today is proportionate to the gravity of the offences committed by the accused before court. Unfortunately, at the stage where we are, we have not yet found the torso as the state. Investigations continue. The information that was given by the accused court before court could not assist either. And of course we understand the attitude of the accused. This is an accused person who has tried to create a certain narrative in court. Firstly, he pleaded guilty to murder, and as the state, we did not accept his plea because we understood that it was his way of trying to get away with a lenient sentence. That is why, as the state, we then decided that we will call witnesses, we lead evidence to prove premeditation. And as we were readying ourselves to do that, the accused had a change of heart and came back and pleaded guilty to premeditated murder.
Very bizarre details of that story. These are the very things we are asking you to question, think and act on, right? The Pitse family still wanting the torso of their daughter. That was Heidi Giokos with details on that story. Now, still